Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, can you feel the excitement in the air? Here we are, mere 24
Where's
hours.
the countdown?
It's up there.
Where?
Up there. You got to be on the website to see that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Anyways, welcome back. It's the week that we've all been waiting for, the week of October 17th, when cannabis is finally going to be illegal in Canada.
Is it the week we're waiting for? Is it the weed we're waiting for? This is the weed we've been waiting for.
Now, did you hear what I said there, Ed? That weed is finally going to be illegal in Canada. Wait a sec. What's wrong with this picture? I thought October 17th is the day it becomes legal.
But I think...
Spit it out, Edward. Spit it out. Yeah, gross.
Let me start over.
Anyways, so October 17th, we have where's the...
Yeah, where?
This is, something is wrong
So didn't
here.
they say that medical use, will probably see some of the users that are pretending to use it for medical reasons, won't have to use it for medical reasons, because now they can use it, they can get it legally. So medical use will be down initially, and then recreational use will be up, and then as time goes on, medical use will go way up. That's what, that was a comment in the news today on Stockwatch.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Well, it makes
Stockwatch. Stockwatch or Stockhouse?
Stockwatch.
Stockwatch.
Yeah, Stockwatch.
Well, I have it on relatively good authority that nobody knows what they're talking about in the Stockwatch chats. I have it on...
This is not a chat. This is news that was in the Globe.
Oh, this is the Stockwatch referring to a Globe and Mail article.
Yeah.
Wait, is this the same Globe and Mail who's like trafficking now in rumors like, oh yeah, we saw a plane land at an airport that came from the same town that has... Never mind.
I know. You know what?
Yeah, there's all kinds of misinformation out there. In fact, the flow and the volume of misinformation on the front pages of what we are led to believe are our mainstream financial media is astonishing. There was a report on the front page of the Globe and Mail last week referencing a report that said that consuming cannabis as a youngster is far worse than consuming alcohol as a youngster. And it took me a moment. I had to pause and reflect on it. I thought, what kind of bozo?
Well, I think that was a major shareholder of Canadian Club said that, though, right?
That would make sense. That would make sense.
You know, everybody has an agenda, right?
They do.
So you got to look
Well,
at...
no, we don't have an agenda. We have no axe to grind, particularly, except against mainstream financial misleading.
You know what? I'd
press,
love to have a
news,
little thing where I'm sitting here on the side when you're not looking, and I got an axe and I'm grinding it.
Actually, or better yet, we need a motorcycle with a sidecar and an axe in it, and you're like reaching out and like, "Wah-ya!" No, that's crazy.
Okay.
Nobody knows what we're talking about. So today we have a really big show. It's not the show I thought we were going to have because I wasn't here for some of this stuff, but today Greg Engel is here from OrganiGram Holdings. He's going to talk about the progress being made at the wonderful OrganiGram facility out in the East Coast. Todd McMurray is going to join us from Segra International. Segra is another company that's generating plants from bio sources. In other words, not clones exactly, tissue culture. That's what I'm trying to spit it out. Tissue culture.
Spit it out.
Tissue culture. And Khurram Malik, it says Malid here, but I happen to know his last name is Malik and not Malid. Unless you change your name, Khurram, but I don't think so. He's the CEO of Biome Grow. And Biome Grow is another LP.
Wow.
And we've just got so much going on.
There's lots going on in the
going
weed
on.
space. I think I just saw weed go by up $7.
Yeah.
Almost
$7.
100. Almost 100.
Let's talk about that for a second. What is significant about Canopy Growth buying Ebu out of Colorado is A, wait a sec, that's a U.S. marijuana producer. B, it's not strictly involved in CBDs. It has some exposure to THC, which means that C, and not THC, I mean ABC, C, Bruce has just changed direction on us.
And then when you're done
Entered the United States of America with Canopy Growth. This is forward avatar into the biggest market in the world. What do you think about that?
Well, I'll tell you what I think. ABC, as in THC.
No, ABC is
as in
Aurora.
CBD, ABCD.
No, ACB is Aurora.
There you go.
You mean ABC.
ABCD.
ABCD.
After you get the third point, you want to go to D, which is CBD.
I thought we weren't allowed to smoke dope till Wednesday, Ed. Have you had your CBDs today? Are you high right now?
No.
Are you drunk?
No.
Not high nor drunk.
Nothing.
That's good. It's
Clean.
Monday.
Clean. Well,
Clean.
Monday's usually a pretty good day
Clean.
to start from the beginning.
Yes, that's a pretty good day to start from the beginning. I agree. What about tomorrow night? What's going to happen tomorrow night?
Well, from the universe's perspective, not much.
Ooh, that sounds cryptic. Can you elaborate?
Well, it's going to, we got a big parties. We got parties here in Toronto, but are they going to have big parties in Paris? No.
Why not?
Well, maybe Paris, Ontario.
Well, why wouldn't they be celebrating? If I was in any G7 country, I would be celebrating the fact that cannabis is now technically legal everywhere.
Right now?
Well, I mean, after Wednesday.
No, after midnight tomorrow, which is
Well, that's
during
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
That's the beginning of Wednesday.
Tilray's up $16 today.
Why?
I think
Tell me
right
why.
now we're seeing a lot of this. People are excited. They're
Do you
buying.
think that the legalization of cannabis in Canada is a value catalyst that is going to lift all boats?
It's lifting boats today.
It's lifting boats
I'm
left, right, and
really
center.
curious to see how they react on Wednesday and Thursday. Is it going to be a bit of buy on rumor, sell on news? Just to make a point, I thought Golden came out with unbelievable news today.
Golden, the
Golden
mining
Ridge,
company.
Yeah, and
Okay.
the thing sold off like, and I got to tell you, sometimes the news is sort of marginal, but this was good news. The point being, if it's already baked in the cake,
Yeah, I don't think that the market would perceive that as extraordinary news, and here's why. At the end of the day, what are we talking about? 20 meters of 11 grams per ton gold with some silver values.
yeah,
That does not a discovery make. In the eyes of the public.
you know what? I don't think a geologist like Blady would say it's a discovery.
No, he's a geologist. He can see it's a discovery. I'm talking about in the eyes of the investing public. Those boneheads selling all their shares down to 21 cents on the news, that it is in fact in the context of the other drill holes that have been announced. And that's what's going on here. The attention span of the market broadly has gone down to like this.
You know what? That was my next point. I was going to say to you, don't you find that more and more, you better show me, if you're going to get me to buy a stock, it better move right after I buy it.
Better move. I need to sell it at the end of the day. Otherwise, I've got value at risk.
I know.
What kind of investor would I be?
I know. You're right. The time frame has changed dramatically, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's insane.
To your point.
Yeah. No, but so I think that from now on, I think that what we need companies to do is we need them to reiterate all the news that they've released this year that was good.
Yeah.
In every subsequent press release, just so it's like, oh, these are the same guys who they last drilled 330 meters of 0.7 copper and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
I don't know. You know what? All I know is when the time is right, things work. When the time is not right, it's difficult to get things to work. In other words, the old pissing into the hurricane thing. If you piss into the wind, you're going to get wet. Better to wait, figure out which way the wind's blowing, and go with it.
Do you think?
I'm just saying.
That sounds like a smart plan, Edward.
Yeah.
Can't get my teleprompter to work, so I'm just going to read the news. Anyways, there's lots of really interesting news today that everybody should be aware of who is a investor in the space. That's not it. Here we go. Aphria was given a $31 price target by Brian Garnier and Company.
Who's Brian Garnier and Company?
Who knows? But they gave him a $31 price target. Like, either these guys are seriously, I mean, I don't know.
Somebody said to me today, the other day,
31 bucks. Let's pull up a chart.
There's my other
computer.
They're talking to a big broker who's
Like big in ass,
not
big head,
no, not in terms of girth,
book,
big and good, big in terms of
big wallet.
And he said he thinks this is just the tip of the iceberg. He is so bullish on this space.
Who's that?
I'm not going to say because it's
Tip
not
of the
fair.
iceberg.
But maybe it is. Maybe when the rest of the world catches on to marijuana, maybe it's going to be a company like Weed and ACB.
Well, that's what's going to make Weeds $100 a share, as we've been saying here for almost 2 years
maybe,
now.
maybe $1,000 a share.
Did you just predict $1,000 a share?
No, I did not predict.
Edward Milewski said it here first. Canopy Growth at $1,000 per share.
Look at Medmen.
Yeah, I know.
That's a fresh high. That's a fresh
Oh, really?
Well,
what were we saying? What
I know
were we
you
saying
know.
nearly 2 weeks
I'm
ago.
telling
Ed?
the world through you that it's a fresh high.
Oh, through me.
I think that thing got back down to 5.5, 6, and here it is at 870.
See?
It's big. It's a big move.
As predicted right here. Now, let's see here.
Oh, you want to look at the index?
No, I want to pull up this I want to look at a chart on Aphria right now to make sure I'm not hallucinating that I'm reading $100 or $31 price target. Like, hello?
Hello.
Hello? Oh, no active session. Here we go, APH. Let's see here. We don't want this thing here. Why is that there? Oh boy, this is, boy, oh boy, oh boy. When you want to look at a chart, you just want to look at a simple chart. Sometimes it's so hard.
Sometimes it's hard to look at a simple chart.
Sometimes it's impossible to pull up a chart,
if
period.
you've got a simple mind. Anyway.
Don't you forget about me. Those are Simple Minds. Anyways, here we have the Aphria chart. Drum roll, please. Ba-dum, bum, 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 bum,
Well, we're right back to the highs. Eh?
Okay. Whoa, we can't see
This is
the
a
whole
6
chart
month.
here.
This is what, 6 months, 5 months, 4 months? 6 months.
Okay, let's go 1 year. That'll make you happier. Look it. So what's the highest it's been here? January 10th.
January
9th, 2475 was its high.
Okay.
Now let's go back here. September 12th. Oh, 2155.
Another way of doing it too,
2161.
getting an idea of like, just sort of summarizing that up. You got this moving average line that got to here just over 20, and this time it hasn't gotten over 20.
Right?
I don't know if that's significant or not. Only time will tell. But you know, we're spending enough time up here now that at some point we're going to get a move one way or the other. Well, another obvious statement.
Profoundly wise statement from my friend Ed Milewski
No,
here.
Captain Obvious.
Captain Obvious, exactly.
Oh.
Are you going to start speaking mumbleese again or speaking in tongues?
I was speaking on tongues a bit on Friday afternoon, apparently.
Yes, you were.
Got some comments.
Yeah, did you?
Somebody said something to the effect that Ed's officially off the wagon. Anyway.
That was highly observant of them. All right. Let's see. Why is my...
But even though we're having a monster day for a lot of companies.
Yeah.
And we mentioned Tilray, we mentioned...
Tilray.
Now you got me confused. But look at, there's some of them are not, like the big ones are. The real big ones are...
I know, but come on, Ed. $31 price target on a stock that's trading at 21 bucks. What kind of fool puts a price target of 61%?
That would be like, that would have
increase?
been when Tilray came out at 20-ish, and somebody said 40.
I want to tell you, this is how you know that these guys are not real. Brian, Garnier, and co. Because if you're a real firm that's going to predict a price for your clients ostensibly, why would you pick 60% higher? You could choose 20% higher, and your chances of being right are that much greater, and it will also protect the investors who jump in up to that level from the downside, because they're not going to be buying it all the way up to 31 bucks. So I suspect that this is something that fake news has generated. Just my opinion. Aphria also completed its first shipment of cannabis oil to its Argentina-based subsidiary, ABP, a pharmaceutical import and distribution company. The company delivered 1,500 bottles of their Rideau CBD oil, which was provided to a leading pediatric hospital located in Buenos Aires, for use in a clinical study focused on treating refractory epilepsy in children. Refractory epilepsy. I'm not going to comment on that. Anyways, all kinds of crazy things happening this week, like Canopy Growth buying Colorado-based innovator
What did
Ebu.
they pay for that?
What did they pay? They did, but it doesn't say in my little write-up here, but it was the equivalent of, here, we'll go and figure that out, because that's actually the most important point, is how much did they pay. And if we go to Canopy News, we'll just search. Actually, you know what we'll do is we'll go to Cannabis, Midas Letter. There we go. We'll pull up Weed, and then we'll get to what the amount they paid was. WEED. Anyways, Canopy Growth acquires assets of Innovator, 25 million in cash and 6.2 million shares.
6 million shares roughly at $70.
Well, I think the
400 million.
Well, now it's
So they're paying $500 million.
420 million,
Yeah.
440 million, plus 25 million, 446 million.
Yeah, I guess we could say 450 million.
Up to a further 100 million will be payable in the purchase price if certain scientific-related milestones are achieved within 2 years. So it could be above 500 million, well above, almost 600 million. Interesting transaction on two fronts. A, that Canopy has now full frontally entered the United States market, which we've always heard that they're never going to do until there's federal deprohibition.
Do you think they've been tipped off somewhere? You know, there's a thing going around in the. Somebody sent me some copy that Donald Trump is moving to make marijuana legally, medically legal.
Yeah.
Not recreationally legal, but he wants to fast track medical legalization in the United States.
Really?
This is your buddy Donald Trump.
My buddy, my pal, my bosom friend. Oh, you know what? I just got my teleprompter functioning thanks to Frazo in the control room for that. Now you want to see some news being read? I'll read you the damn news. This is
Nobody can read it faster.
Nobody does it better. So we already talked about Colorado-based hemp company EBU Intellectual Property and R&D Advancement. No, that's mid-news supply. Here's some news for you. Wayland Group. Now, Wayland Group, if you do not recall, is formerly Maricann. Maricann is one of the companies for whom the rising tide of the cannabis craze globally has not had a uplifting effect on their particular boat. Here is a prediction, and I'm predicting this because they are now our client of our media production facility, and I predict that Wayland Group is about to catch a mean bid. You heard it here first. Now, I can't buy the stock because I'm now technically inside the company.
What about me, though?
Well, you're actually technically inside the company, too.
Okay.
We can't buy it. But let me just say that.
Remember you wanted to buy OrganiGram the other day? Anyway,
No, it's fine. You're right. You want to point out some more of our
you said
incredible prowess in picking stocks.
Well,
feel free to interrupt, Ed. What?
OrganiGram at $6. Wow, that looks like a buy. Here it is at $8. How much did you buy?
I didn't buy any. Yeah, no, I was fully invested that day in a couple of the pieces of crap that have gone by here so far, which I won't talk about now that I mentioned them in that context. But let's just say I have a little buyer's remorse from a couple of weeks back. So far. Maybe not so much soon, but Royal Nickel Corp, there's one that's finally catching some kind of interest, up 5 cents on the day. That thing puts out a press release that they find a 90-kilogram slab of gold, like a 90-kilogram slab of gold, not of ore, of gold. They yank it off of this giant vein, weigh it up, they know it's gold, and the stock drops 7 cents. It's like, this does not make sense. Anyways,
it doesn't make sense. Like I said,
it's a gift from heaven for people who understand this project.
Gift from heaven.
Gift from
manna,
heaven.
like manna from heaven.
Manna from heaven.
Manna
from
or
heaven.
Is that money from heaven?
Tilray.
I know.
Why the hell is Tilray up $16? Did they put out news today? Let's go find out, shall we?
Well, they're a Canadian company.
Well, they're technically not really. I mean, are they really a Canadian company, or are they just a U.S. wolf in Canadian sheep's clothing? That's what I want to know. What do you think about the idea of economic patriotism, Ed? Do you think that...
I think we're in a global world.
Yeah, but we've always been in a global world. And you know what happens if everybody...
Not like we are now. Not like we are now.
How is it different? Is it still round? Tell me, is the world still round?
It's a lot closer together. Like news travels faster, things travel faster.
Yeah, I know, but my point is that economic patriotism is a way to prevent the world from becoming a homogenized, boring-ass piece of crap because you only have Starbucks for coffee, you only have McDonald's for hamburgers, no matter where you go. And this is why...
Yeah, but we don't have just McDonald's for hamburgers.
No, you've got McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King. Whoop-de-doo! Where's
And
the old
Hero
homemade
Burgers.
and Hero Burgers? Okay, but where's the homemade roadside on the way to the cottage pull over and oh my God, you've never had a burger like
Weber's.
this burger.
Weber's.
Weber's?
Yeah.
That's crap! I mean, anybody, have you ever...
I hope
you ever
don't
eat
get
one of
sued.
those?
By the way, that's his opinion.
Well, obviously my
Why are they
opinion.
lined up out there? You said, pull over on the side of the road.
Why are they lined up out there? Why do lemmings jump off a cliff? Because they're lemmings.
Okay.
Anyways, Wayland Group has signed a 9,000 kilogram supply agreement with Nickel Corp for export to Germany. Now, think about that. Wayland has signed a 9,000 kilogram export agreement. Not Canopy, not
Right.
Aurora, not Aphria, not any of the incumbent biggies, but
You know
Wayland
why?
Group. Yeah, I do know
Because
why.
this big article say there's shortages. These guys are short of pot. They can't deliver it. They got to go to the smaller guys to deliver.
You know, you know that we were at Aurora Sky last week. I
Yeah.
can't believe that there's going to be a shortage of pot when that thing gets a head of steam up. Like, that thing's huge. That's over a million, well, it was almost 1 million square feet.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that question. I never got a chance to do it. Is that a big facility? Is it as big
It's
as
huge. 970,000 square feet.
So okay, I don't know what that. How many square feet in an acre?
54,000, 57,000?
So that's
Let's ask
is this
Google.
like a 10? Is this like 10 or 15 acres of under glass?
10, no, it's, let's see, 43,560 square feet to 1 acre.
Okay.
So let's do,
Yeah, do the math.
let's do 970,000 square feet divided by 43,560, and you get 222. Wait, I've done 9.7 million. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
So call it 22 acres.
Yeah. So like when I said 10, 15, 20 acres.
Yeah, that's
I
not
guess.
bad.
Pretty good. Yes.
Pretty close. Pretty good. Anyways, let's keep going with the news here. There's some other great news. Canopy Rivers, the investment arm of Canopy Growth,
Right.
today announced a contract manufacturing agreement between portfolio partners Farmhouse, that's not F-A-R-M, that's P-H-A-R-M, House, and TerraSend, whereby TerraSend Farmhouse will supply TerraSend with cannabis products from 20% of the flowering space at its 1.3 million square foot greenhouse facility
Right.
until December 2021. Both Farmhouse and TerraSend are substantial pillars in Canopy Rivers' investment portfolio, and this agreement represents a de-risking milestone for each company. There. Now we know, actually, we can see why. Oh, wait, let's go back to the cannabis. Canopy Rivers, we have to pull up. No, Ed, you're looking at me like I've got serious
No,
problems.
I'm looking at the tape here, and I'm seeing some are up,
We're
some
having
are
too
down.
much fun here.
Some are up, some are down.
Yeah.
It's not a
Look at Canopy Rivers, though. Look at this chart.
okay.
Whoosh. Now, bottom, decreasing volume. Now heading the other direction. Just saying.
Is that Canopy Rivers?
This is Canopy Rivers. Last at 605, up 35 cents on the day.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't get excited about any. Well, the first day here, but what the hell? Did they halt this thing for a while?
What's the symbol of Biome Grow? That's what we need to know. Bio. Okay, so let's pull up a chart here of Biome Grow. Do you know why, Ed?
Why?
Because Khurram Malik, the CEO, was here last week, and here's what he had to say.
Hey, welcome to Midas Letter Live. I'm here with Khurram Malik, who's the CEO of Biome Grow Inc., trading on the CSE under Bio, B-I-O, and that's as of October 9th, so
Yes.
yeah, very recent. And right off the bat, I just wanted to ask you about being a new listing, coming into the space, being a bit of a smaller company, and having to compete with the likes of Aurora, Aphria, Canopy, those big guys.
No, it's a great question. I mean, why should anyone care about yet another LP? I mean, there's plenty of us out there, and let alone a relatively newer one than some of the more incumbent established ones, which have multi-billion-dollar market caps, like huge amounts of liquidity. What I would tell sort of the investing sort of public out there is, if you look at our pedigree in the space, We've helped take public or build or done something with the majority of the really large players in the space because we got involved early. Not that we're geniuses or anything, we got involved early. So we've been studying and analyzing and working in the sector for a while. So all Biome is taking our best learnings from all the from the prior years in terms of what worked and didn't work, and building a more efficient mousetrap. But also recognizing we're later to the game, so you can't compete head to head against a Canopy, an Aurora, or an Aphria, for example. So, but the good thing about the sector is it's still pretty young. So by definition, whether it's medical or recreational coming online, young sectors are highly inefficient, which means there's a lot of opportunities in the sector that are being ignored by incumbents. So what we're initially doing in this company, and it may look a little weird from the outside looking in, but it also ties together in the coming years, is going and filling holes and gaps other people do not exist, are sort of filling right now, dominating those holes and gaps and inefficiencies. And when you're a little bit larger, let's say 12 months from now, then you go head to head against the incumbents.
So, well, speaking of some of the, I guess, missteps some of the bigger guys have had, could you point to, I don't know, just one or two things that you've been able to not have to deal with?
Sure. So, I mean, if you were building a facility and you had a decent balance sheet, let's say 3 years ago or 2 years ago when it was very much medical and there was no real sniff of recreational anytime soon. The philosophy was, and quite frankly, we were advising the same thing, so we're at fault here as well, but who knew in those days, was plunk 1 million square feet down somewhere and then supply all of Canada. Or put it in a jurisdiction where you've got the lowest power costs, like in Alberta or New Brunswick or Quebec, for example, and you'd be good to go. What we found out shortly thereafter was that Health Canada or the federal government was going to punt all distribution responsibilities to the provinces. And then, obviously you can have regional biases and support and all that, which means, supplying the entire country from one massive facility in one province is not going to work. So we said, okay, fine. So when we were designing this company, we decided to set up facilities in each one of these underserved provinces where there really weren't a lot of LPs and build local brands, or what we call biomes or local ecosystems. And that works in some provinces and not others. So the cool thing about Atlantic Canada is if you build local, brand local, supply local, employ local, and quite frankly have investors that are local in your company, they'll be more loyal to your product, provided you provide a quality product than somebody importing product into those provinces. Ontario is an interesting contrast. We don't care. We'll buy from anybody. Ontario-made product, whatever, right? So whereas in Nova Scotia, and particularly Newfoundland, PEI, even New Brunswick, that's not the case. Newfoundland, I think, is the extreme example. To some degree, they still consider themselves Newfoundlanders before Canadians, right? Later to the Union, right? So and there was no licenses even to this day in Newfoundland. We should be the first one. Hopefully, in the next few months, they're licensed, provided Health Canada cooperates. So building a local brand there, it's very powerful. There's an argument in this industry right now. What is a cannabis brand? You can have a recreational brand, a company brand, a pan-Canadian brand. Those are all legitimate ways of doing it. I think we're the only ones that are building provincial brands which are very unique to our provinces. So if you're a Nova Scotia consumer, you're buying our Wayland Grow product. You're not buying a Biome product, which is an interesting way of looking at it. If you're in Newfoundland, for example, you're buying a back home cannabis company product. Biome is nowhere on the packaging. We've got local people that are local board members, local university partnerships, local R&D partnerships with the governments as well, let alone the local control boards. So and educational partnerships as well. So these are very entrenched ecosystems we're building in our province. So when supply and demand normalizes in 2020, and you're competing head to head against the big guys that have greater, let's say, resources, it's a very defensible position to have because you're locally well entrenched to have that ecosystem. It's harder for an Ontario company to come in and try to flood the market with product.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with putting down roots and giving people pride. I mean, that's a very powerful thing. So let's get into some of the subsidiaries we're talking about here. Wayland Grow, Nova Scotia, expanding to 100,000 square feet. Do you want to just elaborate on some of the specific sites you have?
So we've announced 3 sites, a 4th one shortly to be announced. It adds up to roughly 400,000 square feet of production space in Canada. If I build a single square foot beyond that, I would be very surprised for a few reasons. First of all, Canada is the most expensive place in the world to grow cannabis. So we're not that interested in being a large production footprint in Canada. And by and large, if we're not doing the bulk of our sales overseas in the next 2 or 3 years, I've badly executed this company, and so has our management team. It's a small population in Canada. There are plenty of licenses here. We're doing the Atlantic Canadian sort of focus. That's our Canadian beachhead. It's our home country. We'll do that. But this is really an international medical marijuana company story. We are coming online with international jurisdictions in the coming months and through 2019, which I think will be very disruptive to the industry in how we do it. And that's really where the bulk of the cash flows are going to come from. But obviously in the interim, we've got rec as well as medical here in Canada, primarily focused on Canada.
So when you talk international, is there, obviously there are some places more attractive than others, but are you prepared to kind of say where you're most interested in?
Unfortunately, I can't, since we're a publicly traded company now,
Right.
so I've got to be a little muzzled. But here's what I can tell you: our philosophy international. Again, as I spoke about earlier, we go where other people are not. So if you look at the larger players who've got the bandwidth to go overseas, they're primarily focusing on Western Europe, like Germany or Brazil or South Africa or Australia, for legitimate reasons. Great markets. In some cases, the regs are considerably better than what we have here in Canada related to medical cannabis, because they've looked at what we did in Canada and improved on it. And that's fine. We may do those jurisdictions at some point, but we're a small company. You got to pick your spots. So we're going to jurisdictions where nobody exists right now, and in some cases, helping to write the regulations. So what that affords us is first in the door. Hopefully some exclusivity, and the other sort of privileges and benefits, and so that sort of meet our constraints or requirements. So that's, again, very different. So we'll hopefully be announcing some of that in the coming months and quarters. We're, first one in the door. And that's, I think, is more powerful because these countries, at the end of the day, have considerably larger populations than Canada does. We're 32, 33 million people. Yeah, it's small. Whereas, these other countries are multiples of that.
I wanted to, before I forget, because you guys have this VR retail
Yes.
catalog, and I've experienced it before, but can you just tell our viewers a little bit about that and
Sure.
why you did that in the first place?
We aggressively deploy innovation and technology in our company, whether it's on the growing side of things or other side of things. So this is on the more consumer-facing side of things. We found a Canadian cannabis technology which we liked, which is rare. Most of the innovation, unfortunately, in cannabis does not happen in Canada. We just have large balance sheets on production facilities. A lot of it happens in the US and Europe and Israel. So we did find an interesting one here. It was filling a problem that was in the sector, which is, again, the philosophy of this company: go and fix a problem or an inefficiency. And the problem was that if you look at all these retail stores that are coming online post-recreational and going live, they're not conducive for the casual consumer to buy cannabis. So traditionally, if you don't know what you're doing as a consumer, you traditionally would go into a dispensary, legal or not, in a jurisdiction, and spend about 10, 20, 30 minutes with a bud tender. And he or she would walk you through the safe ways to consume it or this or that. Alternatively, all you can do right now is go online and look at some very good resources, but they're just pages and pages of text. And the human brain can only retain so much information. If you walk into a store, whether it's in Newfoundland or elsewhere, you're going to be in there for like a minute or two or 5 minutes, and they're going to shove you out the door again. So you got to know what you want before you walk in. So what we did with this thing was, this was initially designed as a virtual dispensary for e-commerce, which unfortunately doesn't really apply to Canada yet. So we repurposed the base technology to be an educational platform. So it's a way for a human being to put on some VR goggles and be immersed into a virtual dispensary environment with an avatar, and that will walk you through different strains and how to consume them and what strains work. Okay, these are, for example, the 12 Biome strains or Highland Grow strains in Nova Scotia. You can play around with them, you can turn them into a vaporizer, you can grind them up, you can have tinctures, oils, and it just, the human brain retains that a lot easier than just reading text or whatnot. So it's just it's a way of shortcutting and fixing your problem, and then ultimately it will be an e-commerce platform overseas.
Sure, and I actually think that, and I don't know if you agree, maybe because you have adopted that technology, that there will be, a significant number of people that are willing to dabble that aren't necessarily kind of vets that are
Exactly.
going to need that learning experience.
Yeah, so our goal with this is that, let's make it as easy as possible for people that are have a little bit of trepidation or are relatively new to it, to make it accessible in a safe and effective manner. So you can also just sit in your living room, put on your smartphone, put in one of those $5 Google Cardboard goggles, and you're immersed in a three-dimensional environment, and you're good to go. There's an AR component as well, but it's primarily VR right now. And what's pretty interesting about the sector in general is that it's a controlled substance. So unfortunately, we're very handcuffed in how we can market our product and our company to the end consumer. If you've got retail locations, you're vertically integrated, that's pretty good. That's one way of doing it. But having robust educational tools and platforms and delivery mechanisms to get out there to your local communities and actually educate people on cannabis, and then and also you, is really the most powerful way, in our opinion, to get your brand out there and establish it in your communities.
Sounds good. Okay, so just looking forward for investors in the next few months and maybe 6-9 months down the road, what can they look for?
I think they can look for, we're going to be a very newsy and with very tangible, not just fluffy news coming out. There's a lot of things we've sort of geared towards being brought across the line around, shortly after going public. So for the next 3 or 4 weeks, or in the next 2 or 3 months, what you're going to see is we're going to be signing a lot of large contracts, which a small company is not supposed to be signing. It'll look really weird. And then when we announce them, we'll sort of educate the broader masses or the investor community on why we were able to pull it off, where typically these things are only signed by the 3 or 4 largest companies in Canada. But we're not that, but we're still getting them across the line. So, and the reasons for that, and we'll reveal those in due course.
Great. Well, we'll look forward to reading those press releases, and hopefully after they've hit the public airwaves, you can get back in here and explain how significant they are.
Happy to.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. Guess who's in our studio? Somebody you might recognize. Keith Merker is the CEO of WeedMD. Keith, welcome back.
I'm pleased to be here. Thanks for having me.
How excited are you about Wednesday, October 17th?
You know what? It's kind of mixed emotions, to be honest. It's super exciting just conceptually that we've hit this milestone that we've all been gunning towards for years now. But on the flip side of that, it's actually day one. It's not the end of a race. It's actually the beginning, believe it or not. And it's not so much a revolution as it is an evolution going forward. So it's not as if on October 17th the world changes. If you're living in Ontario, you're not going to see a store open up that you'll be able to consume or purchase cannabis at. You'll be able to go online and perhaps get some at the OCS store. I can imagine that website's going to be a busy place on Wednesday. But again, there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road as we roll forward and as this industry evolves, as we try to eradicate this black market that's been around forever, that is actually our real true competitors in this space today, rather than the other LPs. It's really the black market that we're dealing with. And it's not going to go away and poof in a puff of smoke on the 17th either. So,
Boy, he's not just another pretty face, is he? Keith is, no, that's so insightful. I'm not used to that kind of insight coming from that side of the table with Ed sitting there all the time.
I was inspired by your
There you go.
by your
There
prop.
you go.
Right, the philosopher. That's a really interesting perspective, Keith. And I got to say that's the first time I've ever had reason to think about it in those terms, where it is just the beginning of a long and probably quite arduous implementation.
Of course.
So that's a refreshing way to think about it. So I guess we shouldn't expect to have cannabis available everywhere that we would want it to be on the first day. And I guess it's unreasonable to expect that the website's going to launch without a hitch because, A, it's run by the government, so as if that's going to happen. B,
No comment.
right, we'll make those comments
Yeah.
for you. But you know,
and ironically, all the cannabis that you'll see being consumed on Wednesday will highly likely be sourced from the illicit market. So,
really,
yeah.
wow. I'm not smoking it if it's illegal, are you?
Well, all these dispensaries that are open now,
Yep.
are they going to all get closed? How does that work?
So yeah, in theory, they should all be shutting their doors on October 17th or risk, much bigger fines than they would face today.
Right.
So they've been kind of tolerated in this, and they call it the gray market, as to where we are today.
Yeah.
And the government's come out with, the carrot and the stick gets much bigger on October 17th with respect to dealing with these dispensaries and again, the illicit market. But that being said, this black market's been around for 100 years. They've got deep and meaningful relationships with their customers.
Sure.
And critically, they can provide products that we're not able to provide under the legal regime today. So if you want your shatter and if you want your waxes and your edibles and your whatever else you can find in the dispensary shelves these
Preloaded
days.
vape pen?
Correct.
Where else are you going to get that?
You're not going to get it with an LP, unfortunately, not for another year.
Huh.
We're all gunning towards, that's really where this gets more interesting is a year from now.
Right. Right. So do you think that these dispensaries who voluntarily not close because they are, they're supplying a market they've been supplying for 100 years, and I'm trying to remember the last time there was a cannabis shortage in Canada from the black market was briefly during the 70s, during the Paraquat scare was the last time I recall. So I'm trying to think, okay, the Globe and Mail is right, there will be a cannabis shortage, but only in what we deem now legal cannabis.
Yeah, I can remember there was a couple of micro supply shortages back when I was in high school, just on a particular Friday night. But
certain schools would be dry.
We won't go into that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's a shortage. And the nice thing about WeedMD is that we're one of those companies that has a very prolific production platform that's ready for action. And we'll be one of the few producers that's, got product for sale and going forward throughout 2019. We'll look forward to supplying this country with our premium quality cannabis.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in that note, where will you be able to buy WeedMD cannabis on October 17th? Which provinces, which online outlets?
Yep, so for the rec market, we have agreements and we've made shipments to the provinces of BC, Alberta, Ontario, and Nova Scotia. And that's where you'll find WeedMD under the rec regime. Of course, the medical side, it'll be interesting to watch, the now sort of ignored medical side of the business, which is something at WeedMD we feel very strongly about. It's been our core business, obviously, since we started this company. And we have a big group of patients that we support with our products. And of course, that's not going away. And that channel remains. Of course, we've also got the Shoppers Drug Mart channel, where rather than being one of maybe 30 LPs on the shelves of the OCS, we'll be one of 7 that now that Shoppers Drug Mart has their license.
So Shoppers Drug Mart is selling on October 17th?
No, sir.
No.
So Shoppers is the medical channel. Again.
Oh.
So they have a license and they will be distributing medical product.
I see.
And they will be critically distributing WeedMD's medical product.
Right. So in some respects, it might be better to continue pretending to be a medical patient instead of actually admitting my recreational orientation.
That'll be a decision that we all have to make for ourselves. I mean, but in all seriousness, and to talk to Plato again, certainly there are, patients in today's medical regime who may, let's just say, take the easy road and go back to the rec, or go to the rec market versus stay in that medical regime where they have to go through the trouble of getting a prescription to access cannabis. On the flip side of that, and you know what, I'm happy to see those patients go the way of the rec market and supply them there. That's great. What that will leave us with is a core medical patient population that will be using cannabis for all the right reasons, that will be getting proper, treatment and regimes by which they can use it through their physicians, and really the true medical users will be the core base of that market.
So do you see the medical contingent sort of contracting as the recreational contingent suddenly comes out of prohibition? And
absolutely, I would
Initially,
predict,
for sure.
correct. But then I see it obviously expanding over time
Right.
as the true medical benefits of cannabis are further researched, developed, explored, and explained and revealed.
No, but the Globe, that's the article that was in the Globe today, or at least they quoted the Globe on Saturday.
Yeah, hey, WeedMD's all over the globe these days. Did you see us? Our head of QA was on the front page of the Globe and Mail today. It was very
didn't notice
exciting.
that.
Very exciting.
Good.
Do you think there's any risk that the medical side at some point is going to say, you know what, I don't need this headache of maintaining a prescription. I've been using it now for 10 years in lieu of insert your former drug of choice here, and I don't need the medical regime anymore. I'm just going to go grab it at the rec store because A, it's cheaper, B, it's I can walk in and smell, taste, touch, and feel. Do you think there's a risk that the recreational regime actually undermines the medical administration of cannabis to some degree?
Yes, and it's a real risk, and it's a great point.
Unless you're getting insurance that pays for it.
This is it. So there's not as many differentiating factors between the two markets as I would like to see. Take taxation, which is one critical one. Medical patients are having to pay not only HST on their product, but the excise tax, which is in some circles known as a sin tax, which is kind of a funny thing to be charging a medical patient for.
Right.
So there's no price differentiation, in other words, between the two markets, which is unfortunate. But there is, to Ed's point, differentiation by respect of being able to write off medical expenses. And then we've got some insurance coverage slowly but surely starting to come to the fore in the industry.
That's got to get bigger and bigger.
And it will continue to grow, and that's another differentiating point. I mean, you've got Veterans Affairs Canada covering for our veterans in this country, which is fantastic, as one of the early payers in the space, and we're seeing more and more of that as we go forward. And then there's other little points of differentiation too, like place of use, where if you've got a medical card, you're a little bit freer to consume cannabis than you would be otherwise.
All right. Now, you've also got plans to expand internationally, correct? I've seen that back in September, you announced that you'd exported genetics to Australia's Meat Farm.
Yeah, so that was the first of what is going to be many transactions like this, where we finally, broke down the door with Health Canada to allow us to export genetics. It was the first imported genetics into Australia. And the minute we did that, literally the phone lines lit up because there's LPs across the world who are looking for help on the genetics side. WeedMD's got a really extensive genetics program and library at our fingertips, so we're very happy to provide to Australia, create some good relationships there, so we'll be heading back over. We had a team on the ground there to bring the genetics over. We've built some relationships, and we'll be building on that going forward.
Very cool. So that brings me to another question. We can grow 4 plants ourselves starting October 17th, except in Manitoba and Quebec. Where do I get my little plants? Can I get them from WeedMD?
So unfortunately not on day one. I do believe that the Ontario Cannabis Store will be stocking seeds. I'm not sure if they have them in play for day one or not. I don't believe so, but don't quote me. We made a push because we were one of the few LPs that actually sells plants on a regular basis. We sell huge quantities of plants to other licensed producers. We've made a very unique business out of that. We also sell plants to people who grow their own at home. So I made a pitch to the OCS in the early going to say, why don't we work together to find a solution here? Because the way the act was written, it was prohibitory for WeedMD to ship directly to a consumer. So it would have to go through the OCS distribution center, and the OCS distribution center wasn't set up to deal with plants.
I wonder if it's crossed their minds that it's really not anything that constitutes a drug until it's been growing for at least, 3 months, 4 months.
I am with you. I tried to convince them, but
Right.
unfortunately, I guess I wasn't convincing enough.
Right.
Not in the first.
You are
go.
dealing with the government. But anyways,
We'll get there.
we'll get there. All right, what are the big catalysts we can look for in the rest of 2018 and 2019 going forward for WeedMD that as investors we would be happy about?
Cool. So I got a really neat one for you.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of these things, but they're called numbers and metrics.
Oh.
Weird,
You mean like
eh?
performance?
Yeah.
They don't have that in the cannabis business, Keith.
Not yet, anyway.
Who are you
So
trying to
look-
snow here?
So this production platform that I keep going on about is really a fantastic thing, and it has the capability to provide some very, very large numbers for this company going forward. And I think that as we peel back the onion in this industry, and as we go forward, and we find out who can live up to the representations that have been made, I'll be pleased to look back in 12 months' time and say, there we are, we did it. Because that's first and foremost. And without that production platform and that cannabis, it's pretty tough to do all those other wonderful things. So that's number one. We've also got, further to your point about international, we've got some exciting news on that front that'll be coming forward over the next couple months. And there's a couple of other really tasty announcements that WeedMD is going to be making over the next couple months as well that I can't give you any more detail on at the moment. But certainly we've spent the summer really busy building out the team, making sure that this platform comes online on time and on budget. And now is the time for us to start stepping beyond that sort of 1.0 piece of having the cultivation platform, the extraction platform, and the operations in line. And we can start expanding this company to where it belongs.
Wow, sounds amazing. Keith, well, thank you again for joining us. Always a pleasant conversation. Coming up next, we've got Greg Engel from OrganiGram Holdings Inc. He's going to tell us about what's happening in the Maritimes for October 17th. Hey, welcome back. My guest in this segment is Greg Engel. He's the CEO of OrganiGram Holdings, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol OGI. Greg, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again, James.
Greg, tell me, what has changed since October 17th for OrganiGram?
So a lot of exciting things for us. I think for one thing is having such a strong position in Atlantic Canada is a key for us in terms of, that's the only place in the country where all the retail stores are built out, up and running, fully functional. So we see across the country, certainly online sales available and a limited number of retail stores, but Atlantic Canada fully blown out, have product on the shelf. So on day one, looks like the same as it's going to look like in 3 months. So it's exciting.
Really? So are they making jokes about Western Canada now in the Maritimes?
No, I think people are just really proud of what's accomplished out there. The province of New Brunswick in particular has been a big proponent of this as an industry, has really been supportive of us as a company, but they really see job creation opportunities. As we've talked about before, the largest test lab in Canada, RPC, is there, and certainly they wanted to make sure early on that they had product for consumers, and that's why last September we struck a deal with them, as did Canopy, and it was the first deal ever announced in terms of a retail deal for cannabis for the adult rec space, and that was months ahead of anybody else.
Interesting. Do you think that the lack of an ability to sort of coordinate everything for October 17th is going to be a catalyst for continued black market opportunists who are still, out there?
Well, I think we can look at a market like Colorado, and even kind of 3 years, 4 years in, there is still a black market that exists. Different estimates would tell you it's between 10 and 12%. And I think, with the staggered launches we're going to see across Canada, other than Atlantic Canada, I think it is going to take a little bit longer to push out and displace the black market. But at the end of the day, consumers are going to be looking for, a tested, proven, regulated source for product. And I think that's going to be one of the things that's key. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, as well as we know, there's really two launches to this program, right? There's the launch this year with dried flower and the oils and edible product, edible oils and capsules, et cetera, that are available. But then there's next year when we get into the derivative-based products and edibles and beverages and everything. So it's going to be a slow and steady growth over time. And that's what people are excited about, is not just today, but what this looks like in 12 months from Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you announced that you had unveiled a new brand called Trailblazer. And I'm assuming, just by the sound of the name, that it's a recreational brand.
It is, and I think Trailblazer, it's a bit of a kind of double entendre to it in terms of, blazing is a term that's used with cannabis users pretty commonly, but also kind of trailblazing, that as a company, as an industry, as a country, we're blazing the trail in terms of, cannabis legalization and having this adult recreational program. I think it's going to be, what's really interesting is the world is watching Canada, and it's a really exciting time to be here, and the coverage that we're seeing kind of, globally on what's happening in Canada has been building over time, and we'll continue to see that. So it's a bit of a play on that. So
sure. So you also closed a $5 million investment in European hemp and CBD producer Eviana. And is that because hemp is largely available in Europe and legal to sell?
Yeah, so we see that as an investment in two aspects. One is, they're a company currently publicly traded on the CSE, and they're one that we see great opportunity with in terms of they've actually been growing hemp with CBD in it for the last 3 years, and now they're in the stage of finalizing all their processing. So we'll have access to up to 25% of the CBD isolate or concentrate that they produce, at a discount to marketplace. So that gives us resources to allow to go after the European market, which we know today is primarily a medical CBD market, as well as a nutraceutical market going forward. But the other aspect as well is, our strategy kind of international is very much to look at who's a strategic partner. This is a low-cost source. We believe in the operational team there. We spend a lot of time, and our management team has spent time with them. So it's, we don't need to go in and fully acquire a company. It's let's find the best partner, let's invest in the right partner and get access to the market.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Then their certification process with EcoCert, what is the significance of that?
Yeah, so really exciting for us to get our organic certification back. I mean, as we know, the company is called OrganiGram, and we have roots in organic production. And, going back over a year and a half ago, we lost our organic certification due to some issues around production. And we've been working closely with them over the last year and a half to really get that back. So critical for us in terms of today serving our medical patients, and then moving forward in the future providing an organic product for the recreational market. While we certainly feel that there's a great opportunity for organic, it's not all of what we're going to be producing. We're actually producing, less than 5% of our total organically. But we see there is definitely a market demand and a need there, both medically and in the rec market as well.
Yeah, I can tell you unequivocally that I will only be buying organic products. So I'll be looking forward to that. So you say only 5% of your entire supply. Is that reflective of the marketplace demand for organic versus non-organic?
It's a bit of a combination of two things. One is that the market demand is still untested, so we're not exactly sure what it is. But I think the other is that we know from a production perspective, organic production is challenging. You certainly don't see the same yields. And I was on with you not that long ago talking about our record yields and our low cost of goods through our mineral production. So certainly we'll never be able to match up with our organic production what our mineral production is in terms of the type of yields and the low cost. And what's yet to be determined is really still what level of premium will the market pay for an organic product. So certainly we've had experience in the medical market, but none in the rec market as of yet. So
interesting. Great. Well, so you're supplying into all of the provinces, or all of the provinces of Eastern Canada, and you have the ability to supply Ontario as well, assuming that they roll out on October 17th. there's, a lot of the provinces are coming out with, no stores, and apart from Alberta and the Maritimes, no stores and an online presence. So it strikes me as interesting in a not exactly positive way that, so the LPs are going to send product to the provincial cannabis agency. The provincial cannabis agency will then forward it on to end users and customers. And then you're limited to how much you can possess and how much you can buy and everything. Is it conceivable that at some point they're just going to say, you know what, let's just let the LP sell directly to the end user, thereby eliminating a cost and a timeline impediment, and let the customers in the market decide? You see that happening?
Well, ultimately what we've seen, so we've got agreements, as you said, not only in Atlantic Canada, but also Ontario, Manitoba, Alberta as well, and we're looking to formalize agreements in British Columbia and Saskatchewan to truly be a national player. What we're really seeing is across all of Canada that other than Saskatchewan and Newfoundland, the provincial liquor board / cannabis board is the primary wholesaler, and with that wholesale ability, they're also taking on the role of being the mail order fulfillment. So they are centrally warehousing product. They are looking to have it in a central location. So I think there is kind of an advantage from a consumer perspective of being able to order product from different companies from one source online. And I think that's we look at it from what's the best experience for the consumer, how are they looking to do that. Newfoundland actually in the early days is going to have product shipped directly from the LPs that are providing the marketplace. So that is a bit different because they don't have a central warehousing. But everywhere else really other than Saskatchewan, they're centrally warehousing. So they probably are the best solution for direct mail order today.
And you partnered with Canopy Growth in Newfoundland and Labrador. Now that's interesting. As one might say, was this Canopy Growth making a move towards, more participation in OrganiGram as a company?
Well, I think certainly we're recognized, and we've talked before about how we're seen as a leader with our indoor production of a very high quality product. As we've talked about in the past, we won 2 of the Canadian Cannabis Awards from LIFT last November. We're actually up for 9 awards this fall, and we'll see the results at the end of November. So, one of the key things is our high quality product is in very high demand. So, that agreement with Canopy in Newfoundland is not unique. We've got an agreement with Haiku in Manitoba as well. So really, we have retailers coming to us, whether or not they're owned and or affiliated with a licensed producer or they're independents, and the government agencies coming to us looking for that high quality product, because we're really the only company other than Cronos that has continued to build out with indoor production and producing a high quality indoor grown product.
And interesting to me is the fact that despite your commitment to obviously growing premium flower grown in an indoor environment, you've also got a bit of a hedge on your bets in terms of lowest input cost per unit in the future based on your investment in Hysynth Biopharma. And I don't know if I got the name right there, Hysynth Bio, I know it is. But right. So how is that progressing? We had Kevin Chen in here, and he mentioned that they were moving towards commercial scale production of CBDs from GMO modified organisms. And is that still are they at the state of commercial scale yet?
Not yet. So they have proven, Hysynth to date has proven that they can produce CBG, CBD, and THC through yeast fermentation with genetically modified yeast, and then converting olivetol, which is a precursor molecule, to the various cannabinoids with proprietary enzymes. So they've been able to do that benchtop, small scale, and have been building that up. So 2 paths they're taking right now. One is working with a contract manufacturer who has a long experience in this area to help them optimize as they scale up. So going from a 1 liter vessel or a 2 liter vessel is very different from producing in a 100 liter vessel. So going through that process, and that's what they're working on right now. And then looking to move forward on terms of having their own facility at a larger, small initial pilot scale for commercial use. And I think, one of the things I know Kevin spoke about when he was on is that at the end of the day, the amount of capital that's required to do this is very low, and that's certainly the amount of production that you can produce of it. Ultimately, a pure cannabinoid, is a penny on the dollar or 2 cents on the dollar versus plant-based production. So definitely a hedge, and we see it as really a disruptive technology for the future.
Because I guess just like most medical grade insulin is produced the same way, at some point there's going to be a high level of contribution from biosynthetics.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, more than half the world's insulin's produced that way. A lot of vitamins are produced that way, and biologic for pharmaceutical. And again, at the end of the day, it's not only they're producing the pure, CBG, CBD, THC today. The work has already started on minor cannabinoids as well, and ultimately you could see in the future where the company is looking to produce kind of, some unique formulation products that include minor cannabinoids at a set level, which you couldn't get from a plant-derived extraction methodology. So I think there's a lot of creativity that can come into it and a lot of product differentiation, especially as we go into products like beverages and edibles and, vaporizable products. So a lot of excitement around what Hysynth's doing, and a really great partner for us to work with.
Sure. I was talking to another company that was involved in the creation of stabilizing agents for cannabinoid products that are liquids, foodstuffs, etc. Is the stability of cannabinoids in produced products that are typically contain fats and acids, is that an outstanding issue that has yet to be solved, or is that something that is well in hand and is just part of the process of developing the product?
Yeah, so I think there's really two aspects to that. One is, cannabinoids in their pure form and a stored form, and we're already building up extract concentrate for next year in terms of the edibles market and the vaporizable market. So we've been, taking byproduct from and producing that and storing it, and it doesn't degrade over time in a pure form. So that's kind of one aspect. I think it depends at the end of the day on the formulation and what you're putting the product into, right? Whether or not that can degrade over time, and is there a loss? And I think, a lot of the work right now, and we're working on the emulsification process, and the key in areas like emulsification is coming out with the ideal structure in terms of not only is it stable and fully in solution, but also what is the particle size that you end up with, right? So a particle size of 100 nanometers will cross the blood-brain barrier and have an immediate effect. Particle size of 100 nanometers doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier very easily, so it doesn't have the same effect overall. So, but in terms of stability, it really depends on the end product, right? Is it in a food product? Well, then the food is actually the less stable component over time, right? And if you think of, some of the markets in the U.S., like brownies, for example, or baked goods, they have a very short shelf life. So you don't, it's not what the cannabinoid shelf life is. It's really the edible product itself.
Interesting. So not a huge issue.
Again, it depends on the product and how long you're looking on the life cycle.
Okay, so OrganiGram, and I always gathered by your background that OrganiGram would be very focused on the idea of cannabinoids as a medical ingredient, and with an eye towards supporting new medical products derived from cannabinoids. Is that something that you have been, sort of focused on, and is that evolving into a bigger part of the OrganiGram picture?
It has been part of our focus, and I think at the end of the day, our Hysynth agreement was part of that focus, right? Getting a source of a pure cannabinoid which lends itself to those formulations. We actually did submit with a partner company last year a unique delivery form for Health Canada approval, but ultimately they didn't approve it because of the way there's restrictions on formulations and additives and agents that give you stability right now. So, but I think we're still always looking at what are those products look like from a delivery perspective, because ultimately on a medical side you want consistent and concise dosing, and that's the critical thing. Not that that's not important recreationally, but I think that's one of the keys. So we continue to evaluate technologies and determine, what is the best move. But now that we will have a source going forward of a pure, active pharmaceutical ingredient from Hysynth in the future, that really sets us up for those new products.
Okay, Greg, we're going to leave it there for now, and we'll come back to you, of course, as we always do, in due course. And so thanks for joining me again today.
Great, thanks, James.
Keith Merker, always Greg Engel,
what's the
always a
market
great
for the CNX?
introduction. Great to interview, wouldn't you say? Anyways,
Yeah.
I just want to put it out there. If you're one of our viewers and you're in any of the maritime provinces, or Quebec, or British Columbia, or Alberta, or any province on October 17th, we invite you to take your cell phone to your nearest cannabis store or wherever you're going to get it and call up our Skype number, which is at Midas Letter on Skype, and we will put you on the air with your store, because we want to see inside these stores across the country on Wednesday, October 17th, to see what's on the shelves. So if you have nothing better to do, please go visit a store, bring your cell phone, and call the Midas Letter Skype line on Skype, at Midas Letter. Anyways, back to our regular featured programming. Also on Wednesday, we're going to have Sean McNulty's going to be here. He's one of the co-founders of Canopy Rivers, along with Bruce Linton, and he is the head and partner in XIB Capital. And if you don't know who XIB is, that's because they work behind the scenes to make a lot of these cannabis companies happen. And I'll let him tell you about that. But that's on Wednesday morning at 11. Who else do we have? We just have a great lineup of people. That's all there is to it.
Well, you know what? You're having so many people on, it's hard to keep track.
I can't keep track. Did you hear the news about Wayland Grow today?
No.
Wayland Grow, CSE listed BGW, received an ACMPR license from Health Canada to cultivate. Now, they didn't have a cultivation license before. They only had an oil license, and that was their differentiator. Did you see that Weekend Unlimited started to trade today? YOLO!
YOLO's trading?
YOLO's trading.
What is
You
it?
know what YOLO stands for? You only live once. Full disclosure, I am a shareholder. That's all the disclosure you're going to get. I'm a shareholder, they're a client.
What exchange is this?
YOLO!
What is the exchange on this?
CSE.
CSE.
Yeah, this is the next in the long line of Stadnik Cannabis
Because it's not CSE is not a symbol.
CNX on that thing, Ed.
Well, that's what I just asked you, and you said CSE.
He said what?
CNX. Okay, that's what I want to know.
There you go. What are we seeing? What are we seeing?
Open source health.
Yeah, that's the name of the... No, Open Source Health, I thought it was Sponsors One. So they're recycling the Gary Bartholomew shells in these. Okay, interesting. Let's...
So that's the shell?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding.
No. Had 50 million shares out. You think that's bad news? You don't understand how the way these guys work. They like a big float. Why? Because there's going to be a big promote, and that's good for all the shareholders. Did you know that?
So the high and low, high was 29, low is 22, closes at 26 and a half.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
It's not bad for day one.
Open source. Yeah, you know what? I met Gary. He was got a couple deals and
Sponsors One, Open Source,
Yeah.
and another one. That
he had
one I saw.
and his girlfriend had a.
Health thing, Open Source.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know.
Here we are just pulling it out of each other's memory banks.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I never participated in that one, much to my.
Chagrin?
Well, no, I
Delight.
was delight.
Exactly.
The opposite of chagrin.
Like that, thank God,
Whoa.
because you'd be part of a diluted show now.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I haven't done here yet, which I feel like I must do, is go say hello to our audience over on YouTube. I have been remiss in that, for which I do apologize. There's 180 people over there right now. And hello to everybody. There's Reefer Al, Stalwart, Samuel M. Hello, can you please have CEO Martin Doan on? Suzanne, call Martin Doan, get him on the show. Talk about Juju, James. Talking about Juju. Ooh,
Nice action today.
Juju.
Pulled from,
Yeah,
you know.
Juju is a big trader today, up a few cents. Probably getting ready to close that private placement, I'm thinking. And then they're going to deploy capital into their pipeline of potential acquisitions, just like we've been telling you is going to happen all along.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little share price weakness as they try to, get that.
Well, it got down
Build.
to what, 19 and a half, 20. And
DG is asking, when will Aurora start on the NYSE? Well, Cam did say the month of October, through which we are only halfway, so we give them at least 2 more weeks from that. There's Jimmy Doyle. Jimmy Doyle, how are you doing there, brother?
JD.
John and Sons, 5 o'clock, John and Sons. Anyways, Keith Little, hey, hello, Keith Little. Michael Cardizoni, hello. Dave says, Dave, James. Dave. How are you doing, Dave? Gareth Turner, good call. Leafs, I bought weed at $3 and regret selling it at $25. Huh, well, I'll tell you about regret when it comes to old Canopy there. Anyways, I'm not going to really. Never thought $70 would come so quickly. Well, that's what you're going to say when it hits 100. Am I predicting that it's going to 100? No, but I've just been saying that for 2 years now, so get ready. CEO of Medmen, Adam Bierman. We've tried to get those guys on. They have a somewhat reticent reaction to our invitations and overture. Well, reticent. Reticent smacks of a past tense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know, but you know what?
Brexit? Are you trying to say something, Ed?
There's no I after the, in reticent. It's not CIENT, it's CENT, reticent.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm talking about reticent.
Oh yeah, different
word.
Different word.
Different word. Lease community. I don't think anyone did but the long-term investor. What? CEO. What about CEO of Medmen, Adam Bierman? Yeah, well, he's got a standing invitation, just refuses to take us up on that because he's afraid we'll be rude to him. Which, can't say as I blame him. The other people who have been interviewed him have been quite rude. Might get some love now that he's got a share price that's going in the right direction. Which I would point out that we did predict 2 weeks ago that it was going to be a double. And what did it do? It doubled. You know, we really should get paid for this shit, Ed, you know? Just saying.
So at least some of us should.
Some of us should. Facebook. Let's see what happens over in the Facebook community. Never as big a turnout on Facebook as we have on YouTube. I wonder why that is. Oh, 26 now. 180 to 26. YouTube always kicks Facebook's ass.
I'm not sure if that's like comparing apples to apples, though.
Why? Facebook users are somehow
Well, I don't
inferior?
know. For some reason, I think the Facebook users have to press a button to get registered or something.
Dan Goulet, one of our watchers on Facebook, says recreational distributors are nearly paying what medical patients are paying in wholesale volumes. Don't know exactly what that means. It must be part of an earlier conversation to which we are not party. Anyways, what a day. What a difference a day
So just
made.
remind me again.
No, I'm not going to add. You know why? Because we're going to talk to Todd McMurray at Segra International.
Okay.
Here he is, what he had to say right now.
Hey, welcome to Midas Letter Live. I'm here with Todd McMurray, who's the CEO of Segra International Corp. How are you doing today?
Never better. And yourself?
Good. So let's get right into it. What does Segra do?
So Segra is an in vitro clonal micropropagation company, which is often referred to as tissue culture. And simplified, that's essentially the production of baby plants by the tens of millions.
How does it become the tens of millions? How does that work?
Our technology is highly scalable. So essentially, we build up a base plant, or base stock of plants, say for example 100,000 plants. We can turn that into 400 to 700,000 plants in 30 days with our technology.
What does that look? That's hard to imagine. So just if you could paint a picture what that actually looks like.
Yeah, this is a technology from the ag industry. Like virtually all of our blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, papayas, bananas all come from tissue culture.
Okay.
So we're basically bringing agricultural technology into the cannabis space.
Okay. And speaking of the cannabis space, I can see that very large clients, HEXO Corp, Supreme Cannabis, AgriFarm. So how did that relationship, when did those relationships start, and what do they kind of consist of?
Yeah, good question. So essentially what we've done is we're setting up mini labs in these facilities. The process for tissue culture, there's the initiation process that takes about 6 months. There's no shortcuts. That's where we essentially clean up all of the disease and intercellular bacteria from the plants. So the whole goal with this is prior to getting our license, we set up these mini labs in these facilities. Then we flip those propagated plants into our facility and supply those. They become our anchor clients essentially.
Okay. So what were the initial discussions like with those companies?
Well, very interesting actually. For example, with HEXO, HEXO had already done their homework prior to even meeting Segra. They had already determined that they would save money, they would reduce their risks by using tissue culture. For them, it was a very easy sale.
Yeah, that's what they call a layup, I guess.
And I think the key for why these companies have chosen Segra is our team. Beyond a doubt, like for example, Dr. Zubayed, our tissue culture specialist, he mentored with Dr. Korzai, who's considered the father of tissue culture. He's written 5 different books, 50 different papers. He's perfected the industrial scale production of over 500 different plant species, and he's one of the few industrial scale kind of tissue culture specialists that's actually worked with cannabis.
Wow. So I guess plant to plant, there's a learning curve or a way to kind of figure it out before you can get the kind of system running. Is that right? Or
well, it's actually there's 4 stages to tissue culture. There's the initiation, there's the multiplication, there's the rooting, and then there's the acclimatization. And our business model is stage 3 plants, which is a plant about this size that's just taken roots.
Okay.
And so literally when we work with these plants, we can literally put 10,000 plants in a styrofoam cooler and ship them all over the world for up to 4 days with no loss.
Wow. Okay. So, what are your competitors, or is there what does that landscape look like in terms of competition?
Well, yes, we do have competitors, and what I would say there is we're the first cannabis tissue culture company to actually sign up large-scale Canadian licensed producers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to ask our clients, they all did their homework based on the competitors, and at the end of the day, they chose Segra. And it's really about our team.
Great. So, go ahead. Sorry.
We have one pretty significant competitive advantage, and that is we have our own cannabis molecular biology lab. So we're doing what we call strain fingerprinting. So if you're a cultivator,
Right.
and we're working with your genetics, we fingerprint the genetics before they come in, and every order that goes out the door is fingerprinted to make sure those orders aren't getting mixed up. So
Okay.
everything is true to type.
Okay, and then looking forward, because you got these big clients here, what's the goal for moving into 2019 and beyond?
Good question. So right now, we're retrofitting, we've purchased a farm, we're retrofitting a building. Our ultimate capacity through phase 3 built out will be about 80 million plants per year.
Wow.
We expect to reach that by 2024. The first phase is retrofitting about 4,000 square feet of space.
Mm.
We'll get that license. Concurrently, we're building out 15,000 square feet of space. And then for phase 3, we're building out 50,000 square feet, which will give us the ultimate capacity for 80 million plants per year.
80 million plants per year. That sounds like a very big number to me. We just talked briefly off camera about the fact that Segra currently, as of right now, is a private company, but have your eye on a public listing at some point in the near future.
Yes, we've filed a prospectus, preliminary prospectus, and we hope to be listed via an RTO in late October, early November.
Great. Okay. Well, that's a great introduction, Todd, and we'll follow the Segra story with interest, and hope to have you in after you become a public company.
Well, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Know what that means? It's almost 4:20, which means absolutely nothing yet, because marijuana is not going to be legal till Wednesday. What a letdown, eh, Edward? Are you disappointed?
No.
We haven't really looked at any stocks today. What are we doing here?
Well, the marijuana stocks, the big ones, the ones I guess the world has vetted and given the blessing to, they're moving up dramatically. Some are, some aren't.
Some are, some aren't. So you got any intel on that?
Oxley's big
Oxley.
today. Yeah.
Oxley Poxley. You know what we haven't done, Ed, is we haven't taken a look at our indices, which we're going to do now. And
Okay.
so this week is people are wondering why did I ever leave Ohio? No, they're wondering why is the market up so big today? What happened today? And I'm going to tell you the reason why. The main reason is because Canopy Growth, the leading indicator in all things cannabis in Canada, did this bought deal into the United States that would almost suggest that they have forward intelligence that there is not going to be any further hassling of Canadian companies seeking to enter the U.S. market. Now, you might remember that Canopy said that it was never going to go into a market where cannabis was federally prohibited, and yet today they have done just that. So we will get Bruce in here and rake him over the coals and ask him why, and I'm sure there's going to be a good reason. But in the meantime, anybody who's reading the tea leaves based on that event is saying, wait a sec, are Canadian companies now free to enter the US market in a full frontal without having to hide behind some subsidiary? Because that's what that seems to indicate. Would you agree with that assessment, Edward?
You know what? I don't think I want to make a comment about whether or not, what we can do over here is going to, determine what may or may not happen at the border. Because, I mean, some people don't care if they can go back to the U.S., but some people care.
I care.
Yeah, well, if they're asking you, if you went to the border right now and somebody said to you, hey,
Do you have any investments in any cannabis
Yeah.
stocks in the United States? Well, the answer would simply be no.
okay. Yeah, maybe, it seems to me Canopy Growth knows something, but
Yeah.
But can we really jump to that conclusion?
Okay, here is the full screen now on the Midas Letter chart for the Midas Letter Large Cap Index. Wow. So this is the day. This is the day here, Ed. How much do you want to bet that that's well outside of the upper Bollinger Band? How much do you want to bet that the RSI on this whole index has just gone above 80? How much do you want to bet that this
I don't think it's above 80.
You don't? Okay. Where do you think it is? Because it hasn't traded that strongly long enough yet.
Yeah, well, it's not, usually above 80 is after several days of continual, like we had a good correction here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm going to just try something out here. You mind if I borrow this? I want to...
Help yourself.
Yeah, thanks.
If I say no, does it matter? No.
Well, of course. If you said no, then it would be no.
So,
I'm going to try. Let's see. Oh, your computer probably doesn't work the same way. Oh, it does too. Look at that. Let's see if we go to full screen here. Wait, where's your little pen? Didn't you have the little pen
yeah, right here.
All right.
I just clicked it. I clicked
Okay, look at that. So you click it and that's what makes it go. So now if I want to get rid of this, ooh, look at that.
Yeah, just turn it upside down if you want to make it.
Okay. What do you mean turn it upside down?
Turn the pen upside down and use the back of it as an eraser if you want to
Okay.
get rid of the lines.
Well, so this means, but it's not drawing anything.
Oh, well, you got to hit this. Okay, click on it. No, you got to draw it on the.
Oh, I see. So if I want that, anything I can do for you? Okay, this is going from bad to worse. Let's try, oh. No. All right, thanks, Ed.
You got to figure it out.
Yes.
Maybe
got some work to do.
figure it out. It's not on the show. Just saying.
I thought I'd be able to figure it out right away.
Yeah, well,
But yeah, Anyways, so looking at all of the indexes here, let's go back. Oh, there's my ugly mug. Oh, let's go forward. All right. Canadian Cannabis Index. Boy, oh
wow.
boy.
The Canadian Venture Cannabis Index is up 8.7%. The small caps up 905.
Yeah.
They're all up 8-9%.
They're all up. Look at that.
8, 9, 10%. Yeah. Good moves.
So talk about a value catalyst that moved the whole market. This is what's been driving the market. It's not one thing. It's a big value catalyst that drives the whole market. And this is why all these people screaming about, oh my God, it's overbought, it's over. It's like, no, you don't understand. There's never been a market like this in our lifetimes. And it's got a lot further to run because there are a whole bunch more value catalysts like this that will take the whole market up another 10% at a time. And yes, it's going to sell off in the days ahead as people take profits off the table. But this is why the cannabis market is just getting warmed up. And so if you think that there's a blow off coming anytime soon, you might get a little correction here and there, but you're not getting a dot-com like blow off because there's simply too much global demand and global infrastructure yet to be built, and that's really going to drive a lot of economic growth. 33% economic growth, don't you know, Edward? Never mind 10% in a single day for the whole sector. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
We've had it before.
Yeah. Well, and on what? A value catalyst for a single company that ends up being a value catalyst for the whole sector.
Maybe this is moving up because of the fact it's going legal on Wednesday.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think that might have something to do with it?
Well, as opposed to the cannabis transaction or the Canopy transaction.
Oh, I see. Well, I think that the move on Wednesday, if we were to look at the way the market behaves to major total sector catalysts in the last 3-6 years, by Wednesday it should be a sell-off. because that's the day of the big news, right?
I would say there's going to be a sell-off on Wednesday.
Sell-off on Wednesday.
Sell-off on Wednesday or Thursday, but probably Wednesday.
But this week.
And I'm not saying it's going to be a sell-off that's going to continue, but I think there will be a big red day after the reality hits us. That's just, could be wrong.
Could be wrong. I could be wrong, or I could be right. That's an old Sex Pistols tune. Never mind.
And there's also the
Public Image, actually, not Sex Pistols. Anyways, so let's see who the big flyers are on the CSE index, just because that's where the big value seems to be built.
T-God didn't move today.
TerraSen is a big mover, up 20%, $2.06 to $12.62.
You know there's one I looked at, and I looked at their news, and I looked at this. This is one that seems to have their shares in very tight hands, because put up the chart on TER.
You're turning French on us there, Ed.
Tear. It's on a tear. I bet you it doesn't trade that much today. Let's
look
see.
at that. How's that for a chart?
Okay, well, let's look where the RSI on this baby. This would start to make me nervous if I was stepping into this one. Just saying.
Yeah, well, it's just rocking on so many catalysts that.
Okay, what's the volume there? 400,000 only. That's nothing. And that's got 90 million shares outstanding. So why is there no volume in this?
What symbol was that?
TER.
Oh, TER on the CNX, right? Okay. All right, there you go. Look at that.
What's the RSI? 85.
85.
Well, we've seen this before, and again, not to bring any bad. But if you're going to step into this one, I think I'd wait for a little correction.
Well, let's look at the Bollinger Bands here. I mean, way outside the Bollinger Bands here, so we know it's coming back in.
Well, they usually come back in. Even if you wanted to buy it, you might want to wait for 11.5 as opposed to reaching out and
touching something.
Look at RIV. Now, what about the one? What was the one that the other? Was it AUSA? AUSA, that ticker. What was that? That was
Australis.
Yeah, that's it. Let's see what that did today, because that thing sat around the 2 level after hitting some crazy number like 16.
228.
But see, nothing.
No.
And yet, look at all these red candles here. Just distribution.
Distribution.
Look at. Remember you pointed out that's a nice stepped in, right? Never mind. Buyer beware.
Buyer beware.
Well, a lot of good action here. What's CRZ? For some reason, I should know that.
That's the wrong symbol.
Okay, that'll do it.
That looks like
crazy.
I don't know. Yeah, it's the wrong symbol. Oh yeah, no, that's Canada Royalty. Thank you, Suzanne. It says.
You know what? I like a group effort here.
That's
I really
right.
do.
Suzanne is on the ball. Canada Royalty. Look at that chart. There's a big lift in a single day. So there's almost, I mean, really, it's one of those days where if you got left behind, then you're sucking hind tit in the whole market sector. What do you think? You know what time it is, Ed?
Yeah, I know what time it is.
Time for
it's time to
beer. Do you want a beer? Do you a glass of wine? A shot of whiskey? Down the hatch. So we're going to be celebrating this week. Anybody who wants to come and join us today, we're at John & Sons at 5 o'clock. If you want to come and party with us tomorrow night, we're going to be all over the show, all over the city, counting down the big moment until midnight, at which point I guess we're going to blaze a big fat one probably. Don't know where we're going to get that because we can't really buy it anywhere. I'm probably going to have to dig into my illegal stash and bring it. But fortunately, it's not at my house or at my office. It's hidden somewhere deep beneath the blue sea. Anyways, and then Wednesday, all day, we're actually going to be on all day Wednesday, not just from 3 till 4:30. Between us and our friends, the Follow the Money Investor Group and the Adelaide Capital Girls, we're going to have a full day's programming for you. We're going to have the guys from Canopy Rivers are going to be here. We're going to have Brad Rogers from CanTrust here. We're going to have,
everybody's going to be here.
Everybody's going to be here, and you know what? They're all going to be high as fuck. No, just kidding.
No.
Because that would be illegal. You're only allowed to smoke tobacco where you're allowed to smoke cannabis now. Or is it the other way around?
Is that a fact?
That's what they say.
Is that how it's going to work?
You're free to smoke cannabis anywhere where smoking tobacco is okay.
So if you're on the street, you can smoke cannabis on the street, whereas if you can't drink on the street, but you can drink in an establishment. But that's a little different, though.
It's all tied to where you're allowed to smoke. If you're allowed to smoke tobacco, you're allowed to smoke cannabis.
Right.
So schools, playgrounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Church.
Church. Don't forget church. Airplanes. Anyways, there's our show for today.
I always thought smoking on a plane was a little nuts, way back in the day. I thought,
this kind of smells bad.
well, you drop your cigarette, rolls to the back of the thing, it'll burn out.
Yeah, I don't think we were as afraid of a flying back then as we are now. Don't ask me why I'm speaking in a crazy Italian
Is that
accent.
Pig Latin?
I don't know what it is.
Remember Pig Latin?
It means I need to have a drink and start smoking some weed.
Ashka.
Anyways, that's it for today. Don't
Okay,
forget to like
call
us
it a
or
day.
subscribe or
Call it a
don't. We
day.
don't care, really. We don't. We do.
Call
Actually,
it
we
a
do.
day.
I'm just kidding. We love you. Bye.
Call it a day.